All right, good morning, fellas. How y'all feeling, man? Everybody good. How was the food? Now, listen, if it was nasty, y'all can tell me the truth now. All right, it was good. Man, let's give it up for Elder Gary, Nene, Kiki. Joe made the grits, and look at Joe, y'all. Yeah, he got popped a few times on his arm just to sacrifice to make the grits for us today, man. I'm excited. He's so thankful, man. It's good to see all of y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Have y'all got to get to know each other already? Y'all did? Y'all know everybody that you sitting beside? Y'all talk? Y'all know their name? All right, do it right quick if you know, maybe. Check them out. Introduce yourself. Let them know who you are, man. Engage with the brother around you. You might be sitting by a millionaire. You might be sitting by a business owner, right? Amen. Introduce yourselves. And listen, all y'all brothers, y'all come on, fill in these seats up in the front. Y'all scared? You scared to get too close to the fire? Come on up here. We gonna burn you today too. It's finna burn. It's finna get hot, Doc. It's finna get hot. I'm so excited that y'all are here, man. Thank y'all for y'all's time this morning and for committing to coming to be a part of this entire experience. This is an experience, that's built specifically for men so that we can grow. And so I wanted to say thank y'all for coming, and we welcome all of you guys to the men's panel, Truth Generation Church here this year in 2024. This is like our second assertion of this panel, right? This is our second year doing it, but we've already made a decision that we're going to have to come back and do a 3-day men's intensive. What y'all think about that? We're going 3 days, spend time, talk, debrief, deal with some things, and really just pour into men for 3 days straight. Because, I think men, we need more attention, right? Focused on what we're doing and our roles and our responsibilities. And so as the church, we're making every effort to make sure that we're pouring into the foundation. The men, we're the foundation of the family, the foundation of the community, the foundation of the church and the nation. And so we're going to be consistently pouring into men because we're raising up strong foundations, man. And so I'm so thankful that you guys are here, and we're not here by ourselves, but we got some amazing men who are here with us today. Can y'all give it up for our panelists, man, all of these men today? Yeah, we celebrate these men. I want to let them introduce themselves. We're going to go down the line. I'll say first, I'm Kenneth Cunningham. I am the senior leader of this church, Truth Generation Church, and I've been pastoring this ministry for 8 years. I'm married. I've been married this year to be 12 years to one woman. 12 years I've been married, Reverend. Amen. I got married when I was 20 years old. I didn't have no job. I didn't have no money. I was living with my mama, but I wasn't finna let that girl get away. You understand me? I wasn't finna let nobody else marry her. I said, we got to just go and lock this down right now. We'll figure the rest of it out later. And to God be the glory. We done figured it out. All right. And so I got 4 children, 1 girl, 3 boys. Thank God for that. And I'm just excited to be here with you guys today. All right.
What's going on, fellas? Apostle Jonathan Brown. I'm from Cleveland, Mississippi. I'm the lead pastor of Dominion City Church. I have also a wife, and we've been married for 12 years. July the 7th is our anniversary, and happily married. It's been so fruitful and amazing. And, of course, we have 3 girls. All 3 of them are in my pockets. And I spend a lot of my money. And but also, I just love the grill. I'm a grill master back at the house where I'm at. Yeah. And just really love to spend time with my family. So I'm excited to be here today to pour. I'm excited to be here today with these powerful men of God to really get into some in-depth conversation.
Well, good morning, everyone. As I keep talking, you'll learn that I'm not from here. I'm originally from Bahamas. Yeah. So if I say something that you don't understand, just ask me to stop. Hey, Doc, can you say that again, okay? Yeah. I'm not cussing. I'm not saying bad words. It's just the accent, okay? Just like to always put that up front. I have been married to my lovely wife going on 16 years. And we have 2 gifts from God. And we have moved to Memphis now 2.5 years, 3 years ago. Planted Oak City Church. We're your neighbors. We're right down the street. And 2.5 years ago, we came to plant a church, Oak City Church. And we're just humbled that God chose us to be a small part of that. And he chose us to come to Memphis to do it. And we are thankful for that. I'm looking forward to this second rendition of the panel today.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Javon Armour, the Associate Pastor of Reformation Memphis. I am happily married to one wife,
Yes.
and we just celebrated 8 years of marital bliss.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we have two children who I'm so proud to be their father, and I'm very excited about the conversation that we're going to have today.
Gentlemen, I'm so happy to be here. I don't know what to do. Now, I may be the lone ranger on the panel because I'm the only guy that's not a pastor. However, it's clear that what I do every day is definitely a ministry for sure because I have several kids that come to my facility to train, several moms, dads that come to my facility to just help to lose weight. My name is Raheem Shabazz. Everybody just calls me Coach Shabazz. My wife and I met in 2006. We were married July of 2007. We've been well, as a matter of fact, next month will be 16 years for us. Happy wife, happy life, happy house, happy spouse, happy everything. Just make everybody happy in your house, and you're doing yourself a favor. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just ready for this to get started. It's just so many great things on my heart that I want to just share with you guys that will benefit all of us long term, add years to our life, be leaders, be good representatives, be great role models, great examples to everybody who see us. So I'm so appreciative of just the opportunity to just be here, just to speak with you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, my name is Weeden. I'm the pastor of Kingdom Deliverance International Ministries in Arkansas. Man, y'all got years. I've been married 6 months.
All right. Yay. Hey.
And tomorrow is my 6-month anniversary. But listen, awesome wife. I'm grateful. I'm a father of 3 bonus children that I love dearly, 6 grandchildren.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just excited. Hey, just excited to be here amongst these great men. And we're looking forward to today.
Man. So, as you can see, all of your panelists up here are married men. Let me see what a married man is. Married men, make some noise up in here. Yeah, amen. It's the best life you can have, ain't it? Ain't you enjoying yourself? Hallelujah to God. I'm telling you now. I love my some wife now. That's the best thing God ever made for a man was a wife. Now, if you got a single brother sitting beside you, elbow him and say, hurry up now. Tell him, what you waiting on, bro? What is you doing with your life? Jesus is soon to come. Hurry up. Figure it out. The rapture could come at any moment. Go get that woman and lock her down now. Hey, man, I'm just thankful, man. So we want to get out and just get started today, and I think that we're going to have some very interesting conversation, and we're going to talk about some of the things that, men deal with. And I want to try to start this off with what I call the triple threat as it pertains to the man, and that's power, money, and sex. And so I want to hear from our panelists specifically how that triple threat has shaped the male perspective, that need for power or the desire for power, money as well as sex. And we're going to get into that sex thing a little deeper, but I want to start specifically with power and how we as males can have the right usage of the power that we have. I would love for Apostle Weeden to start it off and just talk about the man and possessing his power, utilizing his power the right way, and how it's affecting, how power affects our community.
Okay. First off, I would start off and say that what's key to that is men knowing their identity. I believe that's a big component of how to utilize the power you're given, when to use it, and to have intelligence with it. One thing that I've shared before with some that to have the level of gifting and anointing that I know all of us possess, but it was work to get to that. Yes, we know what God ordained and anointed, but it was in the acquiring of it, but also in how to utilize it. And so what I was delve into and say from that is key. It's key to your homes. It's key to your businesses. It's key to your daily existence. And one of the things that that I've been aware of, that this level of power is great responsibility. To whom much is given,
Yes, sir.
much is definitely required. And the desire of it from people from standing outside, they crave it, they desire it, but they got to have order with it. You got to have order with it to know what you're capable of, to know, and because this level of power, or power in general, it brings a level of influence, right? People feel like when they got a lot of money, they got power.
Yeah.
Or they
Yeah.
got a position, they got power. But again, that responsibility is a big key, because you can misuse that power and it can bring such great destruction mentally. And I would say to us as men, again, the key is knowing your identity. God said he gave us all power and dominion. So it's not just having power to be inward. It means that you have to have that in realms, and you got to have that in certain genres and area. Because truthfully, I heard somebody tell me this, and not because I'm tall and big, but they was like, when you walk into the room, it seemed like you command the room, that like you have that authority. But I say this with power, and the greatest power to have is the respect, power of respect. Right? That
Yes, sir.
people want to hear what you got to say,
Yeah.
that they know that there's going to be content. So, but be careful. Be careful of wanting something that you're not fit for.
That's good.
Right? Don't crave if you don't know the story of how we got here.
Yeah.
Or I general manages corporations and companies and have all this different responsibility, and you got to know that whenever you are given that level of power, that it's got to be done with order.
That's so good. That's so good. So just to steer the conversation further, I would love to hear from you, Apostle Brown. How does a man know when he's abusing his power?
Man, abuse of power is when we take our power and we place it in a place that is unauthorized by God. So misplaced power is an abuse of power. Watching where you place your power, watching where you plant your power. And also abuse with power comes when you take your power and use it to take advantage of the space that God may call you to lead in. You don't take advantage of people. And so when you use that power to take advantage of people, it then turns into a mechanism of abuse. So abuse is simply when we misuse something. Yeah. And when power is being misused, abuse is inevitable. So.
All right. I want y'all to chime in on that, Bishop and Pastor Javon and Shabazz.
I think abusing power means you don't understand the source of where power comes from. When God made Adam, he was made in the image of God, and he was made to have dominion over the earth. So as a man, it's something in us to want to be powerful. It's something in us that wants to dominate. Where in whatever field you're in, most of us should have played sports at some point in time in life. Nobody wants to not do good and dominate in whatever you do good. But I think we abuse power when we don't understand delegated authority. When we don't understand that everything in life has to be subject to something. And as a man, when we don't allow our lives and our ability to be subject to a higher authority, I believe that breeds opportunities for abuse.
That is so good. That's so good. Come on, Bishop.
I'll just jump off of you and steal some stuff from Dr. Monroe. When we talk about abuse of power, we think of it negatively. But if we go back to Genesis, back to Adam, a form of abuse of power is disuse of power. A lot of times we don't realize as men, we're abusing the delegated authority God gives us or gave us when we don't step into who we are as men.
That's good.
That's a form of abuse.
That's good.
You're abusing the delegated authority. When God came back to the garden, he didn't say, Adam, where art thou? Because he thought Adam was lost. He was saying, I left you in a seat of authority.
Come on.
And I came back and you were hiding. What in the dickens is going on, Adam?
Come on here.
So I left you with power and authority and you're hiding. That's a form of abuse of power. And a lot of times as men, when you don't lead your home, let me.
No, work. Come on. We out here now. We out here. I told y'all it's finna get hot early. Let him cook. Okay. Okay, come on, coach.
So the first thing that comes to mind for me is obviously the scripture that says God has not given us a spirit of fear.
Yeah.
And there were 3 attributes that he did get of the spirit of. And the first one he said was power.
Yeah.
Power of love and a sound mind. But the very first one was power. And in my line of work, I'm always out in front. Coaches are always out in front. Pastors, we are always out in front. And our job as the men in front, we have the power to either destroy and tear down or to build and uplift. Yeah. When we do not take advantage of our ability and our power and our charge to uplift, to build, to bring people closer to God, to bring people closer to their goals, their aspirations, bring them closer to their success, we are abusing our power. Yeah. We are literally doing just the opposite. Yeah. We are tearing down. We have the power to shape mindsets. We have the power to give a child a complex.
That's good.
That will last their entire life. Yeah. We also have the power to give these kids confidence that will last the rest of their lives.
Yes, sir.
We have the power to actually take a brother who has been struggling in a marriage and say, look, brother, I've been struggling in my marriage too. Let's come up with a game plan. Let's talk to God. Let's do something so we can figure this thing out together. Yeah. And that is power within itself because that gives us the power of humility to look to the one who gave us the marriage in the first place.
Right.
And now we come together, we look to him, and he gives us everything that we need. So my whole thing is, if we have it, and fellas, we have it. Yeah. God gave it to us. Yeah. And let's not waste the power that he gave us because we literally have the power to change lives every single day.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm enjoying y'all already, man. This has been amazing. Now, we're talking about the triple threat. So from power, we move to money. And I want to ask you guys a deep question. Are men in love with money or just in need of it? And how do you separate the difference? Come on, Pastor Javon.
It's both.
It's both.
If I can be honest, and I say it's both because if we are not going back to the source of our power, the Word of God lets us know that we should not be lovers of money. But there are those that love money, but to the believing man, I understand where my balance comes from with the need for money and the love. If I need money, then I got to go to a source to get it.
There you go.
If I love money, then I'm abusing that delegation. And so I say that balance comes as a believing man to not love money when I know, okay, where is this coming from? My source for everything that I have, my job, my career, everything I have is coming from God. And so if I have a solid foundation in knowing where my source is coming from, then my love won't shift towards God and then make money an idol.
That's so good.
I think it's something powerful, that question, because I feel like as men, we tie our self-worth into our net worth.
There you go. There you go.
And because of the nature that we have to be providers, we're thinking about money more than our wives are. You know, we're going to bed at night, calculating in our mind what's coming up, what needs to be done next month. And if we're not careful, we can be depressed looking at our bank accounts. And then you begin to try to jump over the boundary of God, trying to become the source when God is the source. And so as a man, we have to learn how to really put our trust in the Lord and not overstep our boundaries trying to do God's job, overcompensating, and then now we're facing modes of depression because we feel like we can't provide for our home like we want to.
So good.
Bro, I could not agree with that more. And I will tell you just a personal testimony. One thing that I had to learn over the years was when I chase money, you probably ain't gonna get it. But when you chasing the love for something, when you are selfless, when you're a giver, and when you have everybody else's intent in mind, the money's gonna come. Yeah. And that way, when you're constantly trying to help others, when you're constantly trying to benefit others, when you really, really have the ones in your home in mind for real, the money will come because I'm so selfless. I got to do what I got to do. Of course I do. But I don't want to fall so in love with the money and the chase that I'm forgetting who I'm doing it for. Yeah. I'm forgetting who is the one that's providing me with the money in the first place. If I love the thing that much, I done forgot totally about who I'm doing it for and who I got it from. Yeah. So one thing that I know for sure helped me over the years, man, is when I really, really consider the why instead of the what's going to come. God is our provider. He's our ultimate. He's El Shaddai. That's who he is. That's what he does. You know what I'm saying? So when he knows exactly what we need, and it goes back to that abuse of power again, if I'm thinking more about the thing as opposed to who I'm getting it from, then I'm going to miss out totally.
That's so good. It's so good. Specifically, I do know as you guys have shared that money does affect how we feel. Like emotionally, it hits the ego. So how can we separate our ego from our earnings? Right? How do we get to the point to where those two things are not tied together? And let's talk about if it's possible to have a healthy ego even when you don't feel like you have healthy earnings.
That's so tough.
Okay.
That's so tough because again, I think the way you even worded the question was we I don't want to misquote it. We find our own worth based off our net worth.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And a lot of the times, I'm sorry, Pastor, you said it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to separate it. But one thing I'm a stickler on, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that when I'm selfless and when I'm a giver, God will ultimately always give back to me. And everything that he gave me, he's going to give me my earnings. He's going to give me my source of income. He's going to give me everything that I need to provide for the great things that he gave me. And what I mean is the more and more I serve, the more of a faithful servant I am and a faithful steward I am, the more God provides for me. And if God gave me a wife and he gave me my kids and he gave me my business and if my foundation is really rooted and grounded in him for real, I'm going all in on him. And in return, he's going to bless me with everything that I need and some. Now unto him who is able to do exceeding abundantly above what I ask and think. I don't want to, if I ask for, I don't want to ask for a Bentley.
Yeah.
But if you give me one, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm going to work so hard for the ones that I love and for my purpose that I'm magnifying God in my work.
Yeah.
And I know and understand I have enough faith and confidence in him because I've seen him do it, and I know that he told me he would do it, that if I work and I'm blessing others, he's going to bless me in return.
That's so good. So good.
I want to take this step and say everybody has a level of ego.
We do.
And our personal testimony, when you mentioned the net worth tied to your self-worth, there was a period where I wasn't working. And as a married man, there is always a pressure to provide.
Yes, sir.
Whether you have resources or not. As a married man, when you say I do, that pressure comes on you to always provide. And so when I wasn't working, I felt like I wasn't fulfilling that pressure to provide.
Yes, sir.
And so I tried to overcompensate. I was fixing everything in my house. I was tearing something down. I was painting something that didn't need to be painted. I was trying to find something to do because, one, I was applying for jobs and couldn't get the interview. And that bothered me. That made me feel as though, man, I'm not being a good husband. I'm not being a good father. And I missed all of the small things that I were doing, making sure the house was clean, making sure the kids didn't have to worry about what we're going to eat and all this type of stuff. And so I feel like when we don't, going back to what Apostle Weeden said earlier, when we don't understand our identity and the fact that my net worth is not so much in my ability to gain money, but it lies in the fact of me understanding who I am. Because truth of the matter is, my wife had to rebuke me and say, you are the one pitying yourself. You're the one making yourself feel as though you're not enough when nobody's giving you reason to feel like that. And so as a man, because we have ego, because I was raised by a man's man, because, I take pride in cutting grass. I take pride in knowing how to use a hammer. When I can't do what I take pride in doing, I shouldn't feel as though I'm less of that person. But if I know who I am a husband, whether I'm working or not. I am a man, whether I feel manly or not. I think that having that balance will help a man be able to navigate between the ego and the identity.
That is so good. I want to say, I do think that as it pertains to the male perspective, that we limit provision to money only. So our approach to our families and our wives and our children is that we have successfully provided for them when we supply money. But provision is not just money. Provision is time. Provision is emotional intelligence. Provision is making sure that you're providing infrastructure for your children, right? So provision expands beyond that. And I think that if there is a season where you may not see the money, right, if you provide everything else, God will supply the money, right? Because I think those things have more lasting value than the money does, right? Because you can provide money all day, but if you're an absent father, those children will grow up and resent you, and you feel like, what you mean I took care of you? I wouldn't, but they didn't see your presence. That was the provision that was missing, right? So how do we relegate making sure that we're providing in all aspects? I want somebody to tap in on that. Bishop, you look like you can do that.
I think the biggest thing, and I think with everyone is saying, that's why it's so good. I don't feel like to add anything. But I think those other components of provision still is attached to our worth. And I'm staying away from self-worth for a reason, and I'll come back to that. But it's still attached to our worth. For example, I grew up in a very poor family, okay? I didn't know it, but that's the point. I didn't know it, and I never can look back and say, my dad walked around with his head down saying, I didn't provide or I couldn't provide. Or my mom walked around saying, I didn't provide and I couldn't provide. Because their worth was wrapped up in, I'm doing the best I can. Yeah. And I'm giving my kids everything I think they need at this time. It might not be what that other family has, but what we have is the best we have. So I've come into this place where I am now realizing my self-worth is not mine. So let's go back to the garden. That's why I didn't want the mic. Remember when he asked Adam, where art thou? And Adam and Eve, what were they doing? Hiding. What was Adam's response in regards to what happened? He said, the woman, what did he do? Take the responsibility off of himself and put it on someone else. So was it really Adam's self-worth wrapped up in that? Or was it really the reality of God was saying, when I blew myself, the ruach in you, you didn't become Adam. You became me expressed in the earth. I'm going somewhere, I promise you. What I'm saying is, what happens is we take a lot of this self-worth thing and we allow it to take us and pull us down, like Pastor Javon was saying. If we go back and we say, okay, God, everything I have to provide for my family has to come from you. Yes. If it comes from you, I have no self in it.
Yeah.
So the worth that I'm trying to conjure up and feel is wrapped up in who you are. So if I rest on who you are, I have nothing to worry about my worth. Because everything that you pour into me as a father, as the father, I pass on to my kids. So there's nothing in here that my kids got to worry about. Well, wonder if daddy's feeling down or up, or what. Everything they see through me, they should see comes from God. Is that making some sense?
Perfect sense.
Because when he blew into me, that breath only extends on to my children and my family. Is that making sense?
Perfect sense.
So I stay away from the self-worth thing, because I think a lot of times in the church we slip those things in, and it gets us into this whole modern new age thought of self-identity and self-fulfillment and what feels good for you, what is self saying. And so we got to shift that thought and thinking to say, what is God saying, and how are we aligning with what his will is for our life? I'll share.
That's perfect. All right. You want to chime in, Apostle?
Yeah, I would say I like that. That's good, Bishop. To the point of what you had asked about, it's not just about money, it's about all the provisions. I think for every man need to understand that you have to have confidence in your ability to increase your capacity. Like you have to have, you have to know that you have more than just go put in 40 hours, right? Because one of the things, and I think this is a divine topic, because just because it's a whole different aspect. Just because we can go pay all the bills don't make us a good husband.
That's right.
Right? If I'm spending 80 hours on the job and no hours at home, then I'm not increased in my capacity.
Yeah.
I believe that as men, and I tell this all the time, just because you can pay the bill, blow somebody back out, don't mean that's all it takes.
Come on.
Right? What is it you giving your children? Because you limit yourselves when you don't have confidence in your ability as a man and as a father and as a husband, right? And I said this, don't be a mandingo, be masculine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because mandingo is tied to something animalistic. So when you talk about capacity, you got to believe that God ain't impressed with the man of the house, he's impressed with the God leader of the house. Right? And that's something Miles Monroe talks about all the time. So when you talk about provision, it's like, believe that you can cover your family, right? Because men are to cover, women are to carry. Believe that you can be that husband, that father, but you have to have confidence. Because one thing, and I know we'll probably get to this later, one of the biggest provisions that men have to make better in the homes is showing love, right? That's a big piece. You guys was talking about, the money piece. How can it not affect you if you ain't bringing in enough net worth, right? Because we want our families to be blessed. We want to be able to bless ministry, but you got to look at a whole different picture. What happens if, and I love what Pastor Armour was talking about, what happens when you don't have net worth? What else can you bring to the table?
Yeah.
And something the man of God was talking about, and here's a big piece. This is why we got to make sure we got the right rib. Somebody that ain't going to dog you and understand okay, he's in a place right now, right? But I know my husband. I know his ability.
Come on.
Because he has a great capacity for my family, right? Because I'm gonna say this: I'm on a mission to make sure my family got everything they need, right? Shabbat was talking about something. I'm telling God, after all that I do, I want my Escalade.
Yes, sir. Yes,
but
sir.
I'm gonna make sure everything else, burgundy too,
Make sure
with
they
black
good.
in the inside.
Come on.
I'm looking for one right now. But it's guys, men of God, it's about understanding, having confidence that when you walk into your house, even if your net worth ain't where you want it to be, is your confidence, is your net worth in your confidence, right? Is it in your ability that we know how to get money. We can hustle, we can do whatever, but it's going to take more, because we need you in the house setting and foundation, right? That you're the reason your son's going to be saved. You're the reason your daughter's going to find a good husband and a good man. So we have to take the time to, and I heard the word balance. We got to know that it takes more than us buying them Jordans all the time, or us buying them $1,000 PlayStation 5s. And man, do we have some time today? Do they see Father praying?
Yes, sir.
Right? My kids saw me praying. They
Yes.
saw me and they prayed with me. So it's not being afraid of your spirituality. So and tapping into that so that you can bring that into the household as well.
That's so good. Yeah.
Just a couple of examples that I love to use all the time, especially with my weight loss clients. What is the sexy thing that we look for when we're trying to get healthy? The thing we look for the most is the number on the scale. I need that number to go down. Okay? That's the biggest thing we look for. If I'm a basketball player, what's the best way that we gauge if I had a good game or not? How many points I had? If I'm a weight loss client, I have to educate my clients on this all the time just to keep them at ease and let them know that they're progressing better than they think. It's not just the number on the scale. First of all, how do you feel?
Yeah.
How's your mood? How's your stress level?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's good.
How is your energy levels?
It's good.
How are you sleeping?
Right.
How are you short-tempered?
Yeah.
Because if all of that's still the case and the number on the scale is going down, then we're really not really covering a whole lot of ground.
It's good.
Because when we're talking about our livelihood, it can't just be one part.
It's good. It's good.
When we're men, we tend to look at the money. We tend to look at, am I giving my wife enough sex? Am I getting enough sex with my wife? And we leave it at those two, and we're not even really considering the impact that I'm making on my entire house.
Yeah.
Am I spending enough? Am I showing my little girl how a man is supposed to treat a woman?
Yeah.
Am I showing my son how to get through hard times? If I'm struggling, can I bounce back? If I'm not making enough money, am I able to go and fix the doggone sink? Am I gonna take the trash out? Am I gonna do the other things that can damage my ego because I'm not making the bread that I want to make? But can I still humble myself to still be the main contributor and show that I can lead the way, as opposed to being just one-dimensional?
It's so
In a
good.
basketball game, I can't think of just my points. LeBron James is in the conversation for being the greatest ever. LeBron James don't just score. That brother is pass first.
Yeah.
You think score or pass with him. You think pass first with him, but he's the all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
And he can rebound, and he can play defense. So we can't be one-dimensional as men. We absolutely cannot. We have to be so rounded that the ones that's looking to us understand that, number one, that we're not Superman, but we want them to have the confidence in us that he close. Yeah. You know what I mean? If something fall apart, I know Daddy got it.
Yes,
like,
sir.
for real. And if that's the case, then we're doing them a service, and oh my God, and we do very well by making sure that we're rounded as opposed to just one-dimensional.
That's very good, man. Y'all are amazing, man. So as we pivot, we talking about that last piece. We got power, you got money, and then we got sex. And the reason why I think this is a triple threat is because normally those three things are what make a man feel like he's a man, right? That if I got money, then I got power, and money and power gets me sex. Right? Or if I feel powerless, if I'm having sex, I feel powerful in that moment while I'm having sex. And then it restores my ego or my identity. So specifically as it pertains to sex, and Apostle, you mentioned, blowing backs out. Glory to God. So we need to talk about this to see what's happening inside of the man, right? That has his identity so tied to the bedroom. Right? What's happening in the heart? And is it possible, right, that it could be tied to trauma?
No question.
Is it possible that the way we approach sex and our sexual appetites, is it possible for it to be tied to trauma? Come on, Bishop. Come on, Bishop. Y'all tell them, come on, Bishop.
Well, I'll say this. First, let's identify the word you use, keyword trauma. Trauma is anything that's distressing, that impacts us emotionally and psychologically. One of the things I want to just lay a foundation and say, I think a lot of times for men, this component is the unspoken secret. Let's not talk about it. I don't know if y'all grew up, you couldn't even say the word in church. Y'all grew up with that? You couldn't even say sex in church. It was just that thing. And I think a lot of it had to do with trauma.
Yeah.
People didn't want to talk about it. And I think the biggest thing for us as men is we have to recognize, first off, what's going on in our lives with the power and control, number one. And then two, let me go back. How did you see sexuality from your father? If you ever heard the phrase, children live what they learn and learn what they live.
Yeah. It's good.
Most of us are acting out. Have you ever heard the phrase, you look just like your daddy?
Yeah.
Or the one that I don't encourage mothers not to say, you act just like your daddy. Well, there's some truth to that. Yeah. You live what you learn. And what happens is as we mature as men, we carry out some of the exact same things that we saw. Or we do what we didn't see. Now, you'll get that later.
Yeah.
If you didn't see affection, if you didn't see anything sexual, are y'all following me?
Yeah, you just do what
so
you
I'm trying to describe what trauma is like. Yeah. So I saw my mom and dad hug and kiss. Now I'm not the most touchy-feely person. I don't like people to touch me. Is this mic on?
It's on, yeah.
Because some of them, y'all pretending like y'all don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, there are some things in our lives that we utilize this avenue we call sex to get control over.
It's good.
And then your wife is going, really? And then for you, it's like, baby, I don't know what's the problem. But y'all never talked about that other thing that's going on in your life. Let me pass this mic on.
No, that's good because we finna go there.
The other thing that's going on in your life that you can't take control of, and this is something you feel like you have control.
That's so good.
And then your wife then becomes, I'll expose who I am. So I'm a family therapist. One of the things I hear from spouses all the time is, I feel like I'm just an object to my husband. Sorry, I didn't mean to open this.
We
I
going
came
here.
ready for this.
We going here.
I feel like just an object to my husband. And they will sit there and look at me. Doc, it's not like that. You know, she's my, no. And then we dig into some deep things. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize. Oh, there's a reason why your wife feels like that. Or your girlfriend for that matter. Because some of y'all sexing up and ain't married anyway.
Come on.
So you going to love me later, I promise. What I'm saying to you is, the reality is, the control piece is something that we as men have to get control of. Boy, I know, you can hear a pin.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
But what am I saying? I'm saying this third component, Apostle, is one of those things that we have to deal with as men. And I'll let someone else, and I'll come back.
That's so good. Okay. And I wanted to say, specific to what you're saying, y'all know we always hear this said, men need sex. Y'all done heard that? It's said all the time. Men need sex. Men need sex. I hear it just everywhere. I mean, whether it's in the Christians who are talking about it now, or just different, free thinkers in the world. Men need sex. Men need sex. So how much of that need for sex is nature, and how much of it is bondage? Come on, Pastor Javon.
I would say it's bondage because we don't know where to get our release. If you want to look at the
That's so good, Armour. Armour, you already out here, man. Yeah.
When we don't know, say it right. When we don't know how to properly get a release outside of sex,
Come on, man.
we abuse sex and anyone that will allow us to get that relief. I would even almost say many of us don't know how to spell relief. Therefore, we abuse sex because we do not know where to get a proper release.
That's so good.
We abuse people. Even as Bishop Stubbs says, for the married man, we may abuse that spouse.
My wife, yeah.
And not only do we taint their image of us, but because we don't know how to get a real release through other means. Oh, this goes back to the garden. Because Adam communed with God. When we have a lack of intimacy with the Father,
Come on.
we will abuse anything that will give us that attention to release. When we don't, Scripture says that we are to cast our cares on God. Sometimes we cast that care in release because we can control it.
Yeah.
It goes back to the manhood. Men are designed to be in authority. Men are designed to have dominion over the earth, everything in the earth. And when I don't understand and know how to cast my care with God, on God through intimacy with the Father, I'll dominate anything that allows me to get a release.
It's so good.
Even if it negatively affects the image and the identity of the person.
It's so good. Come on, Apostle.
Man, that was so good. Man, I just want to add to that. We have to deal with the unauthorized stimulations, because when you have been engulfed in pornography and these other magnitude, they build these unauthorized stimulations that, and then there's what we call sex drive, or what's driving this sexual craving. And oftentimes it's being driven from this place of pornography, this place where we've indulged into these avenues that go into the gates that leads us to this place to then have to want sex all the time, abuse and use our wives. And then when our wife cannot accommodate what you saw on the show or on the pornography screen, then you need something more extravagant. So now you're going to something greater or something better, and then it leads into a place of adultery. And so I've seen men fall into this trap to where your wife is never good enough. What she offers is never good enough because it's been stimulated from an unauthorized place.
It's so good. Come on, Apostle.
Hey, I don't even know what to say. But I love what Apostle Brown was talking about. And even in society, he talked to pornography, even a step down from that in movies. And why else are they showing you breasts? Why else are they showing you women in thongs?
Come on.
They know, and I hear this word, they know men, we have an appetite. Yeah. Right?
Yes, sir.
There's an appetite, but there's something also called a healthy appetite. An unhealthy appetite to me is when men have been broken, some through molestation, things of, and so, let's talk real, just absentee of a father.
Yes, sir.
That's the biggest trauma that I counsel and minister, more than being raped or molested. It's the absentee of a father. Yeah. Because they say 80+% of men in prison are because of an absentee of a father. Yeah. That's almost like 8 out of 10 men. So when you think about that, and you think about, why is it that one woman is not enough, right? Why is it that she can be the best thing for you?
Yes, sir.
But that area of yourself that haven't been dealt with. I said this a couple weeks ago in service. I said, I'm going to call all you men I'm going to call all you liars out. People looking at me. I said, I'm going to call all you liars out. And you know what I said? I said, every time you say I'm good, when you're not.
Yes, right? Sir.
Every time you because we were built. There's a difference between having a man's nature and masculine. That's two different things, right? Because you can pick up a nature through pornography. You can pick up, and I heard him talk about complex. So it's how do we fix that? How do you fix it by you? One of the first things of deliverance is being honest, right? Being honest with yourself. And let's be real. Most every man in here, we're prone to say, I'm good because my dad taught us to suck it up. I thought when I cried, the first time I remember crying was my grandmother died. I thought I was doing something wrong. I thought it was weak. So when you tie it into sex and are y'all grown? Y'all can handle our transparency. This is why men wants to drive sex.
Yes, sir.
You putting them in doggy style. You lifting up the legs.
Come
you
on.
Doing this because it gives you a sense of can y'all handle this?
Yes, sir. We can handle this.
Yeah, I know y'all can. Y'all handling this.
We handling this right now today.
So because it's like I'm in control. Like I can control and let's be real. Some men, even if they ain't put it down, they gonna think that they did because they was in the driver's seat. Everybody ain't good drivers, but you behind the steering wheel. So, but the biggest thing is we want a healthy appetite for sex, and the only way to garner that, men of God, is we have to deal with the areas of ourself that is not whole. We have to deal with the areas of our mental capacity to literally say, you know what, I'm not good. I'm not good. You know, hey, whether it was a divorce, whether it was a bad relationship, all of those things can contribute to an unhealthy appetite, you know, for sex. But definitely, this is why you're seeing people, and I like that, use all these other alternatives. Because it's what's being offered, it's what's being given today. Everything is nude.
Yes,
Everything is about nudity, and a lot of that is to gear towards, because they know it's an appetite strongly for men. But when you talk about sex and trauma and we talked about this, I'm gonna turn the mic over. I will find myself in the past when I'm going through stuff. Let me call a woman.
Yeah.
Right? When I'm going through stuff, you know, it ain't gotta be about another woman. It's like, and I love what man, that needs to be a book, sir. That it's a form of release, right? Yeah. But it don't always give us relief.
Yes, sir.
Right? We release it.
Come on.
We can release as much as we can in a week. But I ain't there with my mind, so I ain't got no relief.
Come on.
So now your wife ain't satisfying to you because you releasing, but you ain't got no relief.
Come on.
Right? So now it becomes systemic. Now it becomes systemic, Bishop, that now and you're still looking. This is why you can have a wife and another woman or girlfriend on the side, because you're trying to find your relief in that one, and that answer is within yourself. Yeah.
This is good. Now you went to talking about the alternatives, right? That I hear you got the alternatives. And so, you know, the first part of that word alternative is altar, right? So we got to talk about, you know, these alternatives and how sex altars are being built every time a man is engaging with it, with pornography. Apostle Brown was preaching last night about the masturbation piece, and how these are just altars that really have been established in the life of the man, that altars, ALTER, what he is supposed to do with that drive, what it's used for, right? It's new alternatives. And I want to get into this part, especially because now the alternative in our time is not just another woman or the mistress or a side chick. Now the alternatives are even men with men. So how do we approach that conversation in the church in the 21st century, dealing with that even now that there are some men that get a relief or looking for a release? And I heard, and I'm going to say, I mean, we all mature. Y'all can handle it. Apostle Brown mentioned last night, even while he was ministering, that some men become gay for a day. Yeah. Right? So we have to deal with that when you just have a release and that perversion is driving you, that you'll release anywhere, even if it's, you know, with the same gender. So how do we deal with those sex altars, and how can we identify what trauma is tied to that? What the pain that's happening in my mind is tied to my need to perform these certain acts with my body?
I was thinking about, alternatives, and Pastor talked about needing the release, or, you know, not having the relief. When I tell you guys, and now I'm almost kind of understanding my place up here with you men, to be perfectly honest. Pastor, strength coach. So I almost feel a little bit out of place, but I promise you, when I tell you, it's making sense to me, because that gym is literally like my sanctuary. It's literally like my church.
Yeah.
And when I tell y'all that when we're looking for a healthy alternative, it's so many unhealthy alternatives, let alone a woman or a man.
Yeah.
Weed, alcohol,
Yes.
the needle,
Yes.
time out there. All of these unhealthy alternatives that can lead us to killing each other, killing ourselves, putting so much disease into ourselves. The greatest alternative that there is next to God is taking your behind into a gym and exerting some energy.
Yeah.
Because when I tell you what that does for your body,
Yeah.
and what that does for your mindset, the parallels between sex and actually going to the gym are It'll blow your mind. First of all, when you have an orgasm, you feel that release. You automatically feel better. Yes?
Yeah.
You automatically go into a deep sleep. You feel relaxed. All of this is true.
Yeah, if it was good enough,
if it was good enough,
you
then you're going right to sleep.
yeah.
Guys, when you go to the gym, when you go for a run, when you go for a long walk,
Yeah.
guys, 100% of the time, you always feel better when you're done.
Yeah.
And that is a healthy alternative
Yes, sir.
that literally adds years to our life. And not only while we're in the act of doing this, the people that are watching you do this, hey, man, what you doing? What you got going? You training for something? You're helping somebody else just by you in your zone of working out, your zone of going for you. You're positively influencing somebody you ain't even trying to. Because you might be going through something, you're handling your business, they may be going through something or not, but they see you, and you're encouraging somebody to do the same thing. Guys, the single greatest asset, the single greatest release that we could healthy alternative, is to take care of the body that God gave you. Because number one, mentally you're going to be sharper so that we can take care of our things at home. Physically, we're going to be better off because guys, what happens? As we train, as we improve our body, our testosterone levels go up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that affects?
Mm-hmm.
Fellas, that affects our sex drive. That affects our confidence. That affects our mood.
Yeah.
All of these stuff improve as a result of consistently going to the gym. Mm-hmm. And I ain't even had to look at another woman. Mm-hmm. I ain't had to, because listen, God designed this thing for me and my wife, period, as a reflection of him.
Yeah.
And if all I'm doing is concentrating on him, all I'm doing is trying to figure it out. If she's happy, I'm good. What do I need to do to make sure she's happy? Fellas, if I take my behind, put a little extra work in, that's going to drive my focus onto her. That's going to put me in a better position to take care of her. That's going to put me in a more calm state of mind so that if stuff is not going the way that I think it should go, guess what? I'm going to be a little patient. I'm cool. I'm all right. I'm relaxed. I'm not panicking. I don't have to run to no other woman. I don't have to. Because if my whole thing is centered around my house, my woman, my wife, my God, I'm going to do it the right way. Guys, that is the reason. It's nothing but black men in here. Guys, when I could preach a whole 2-hour sermon about this. The reason that we all are here, fellas, this is the end of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. This timing of this panel couldn't be better. It's at the end of it. But we about to go into some more hell after we done with June. We still men, ain't we? Yeah. And the problems, the trauma, the trouble, the temptations, all of it is still coming. So we still got to be ready for it. How do I do that if any sign of adversity comes and I collapse? Or any sign, or I'm looking for if my woman ain't giving me none, I'm looking for the easy way out, find me another woman. That's the easy way out. That's soft. Come on, dog. That's anybody can do that. It's so much more power. It's so much more power in restraint.
Yes, sir. So much more power and restraint.
And it come back to the first word we even talked about was that abuse of power. And if I'm on the right side of it, I can restrain, and I'm going to take my power and I'm going to do something constructive with it. And I'm going to use it so that it doesn't tear my home apart. I'm going to use it so it builds my home all the way back up.
So good. I want to say, just to share this, and I want to get to this next question about, because Bishop Stubbs was talking about our wives feeling like objects. I want to tell a little bit of my story about this, and then we can go into that conversation. That from the age 14, I had a porn addiction, from 14 to 24. And it was something that I would say I picked up from my elder brothers. My elder brothers, and this is what they told me. They told me, and it was a lie from hell. It was a deceptive lie, but I was trying to find identity with my brothers, right? And trying to fit in with my brothers and be good enough for my brothers. And so I went through a very humiliating moment with my brothers, where my eldest brother made me and my little brother and brother right above me and a few of our cousins. He made us all pull our private parts out in front of all together. And then he and my older cousin did the same, and they were bashing us for how ours wasn't the same size as theirs, right? This is when I was probably 13, and They said, well, you know how you can do that. Like you can if you just watch porn, watch this and masturbate, then it'll grow. You just do this, you become a man. You really. So I'm having this identity crisis that's been placed on me from my brothers, and they telling me that the alternative for how I feel internally in my mind is to dive into porn and masturbate. So it became a thing that I was doing every single day of my life for 10 years. Every day. When I got married, I watched where I got married. I was begging God to take it from me, and my deliverance didn't come immediately. And so what God told me as I was praying one day and I was asking him to take it from me, he said, well, I have you in a process because I want to reveal something to you. He said, it's gone from a practice now to a struggle, but I have to reveal something to you in this. So throughout the course of 4 years of my marriage, as long as me and my wife were sleeping together, I was good. But any time where we wasn't sleeping together, and it wasn't because she was just denying me or was just saying no, if we weren't sleeping together, I would just go to porn and I was good. So she's never heard me complain about sex because I had an alternative. And what God had to reveal to me was, you're not delivered. You just replaced her with the porn. So all of the things that I saw, porn taught me sex. Porn taught me to do this and to do that. And I never even thought to have a conversation about what she needed and what felt good to her, because my identity was tied into where I was being trained that this is what makes you a man. This is what makes you masculine. And I had to realize that I had made her the object, right? I had treated her like who I saw on the screen. And until I got delivered from my need from the screen is when I was able to learn intimacy with my wife. So the point that it's no longer, that moment now is no longer about me. I'm not showing up in that room just about what I need. I've learned how to fulfill the needs of her. And that's what we do as men. We're the ones that provide, right, the fulfillment of the needs of those around us. And I had to learn that as God was freeing me from that addiction. It's the reason why I'm very open with talking about it. Most of the brothers here know that I talk about that addiction and how it just tried to strangle my life, right? But I thank God that he revealed to me that it was tied to not just my desire for sex. It was tied to my identity in front of my brothers, right? That if they hadn't have stripped me of what I thought my identity was and told me that this was the answer, I wouldn't have been addicted. So it was never about the sex. It was about my identity, that trauma that I had from my teenage years. So I wanted to see, Bishop, you want to tie into that as it pertains to how are we showing up for our wives? How do we not treat them like objects? How do we manage the middle ground of that?
Yeah. So, and again, if you heard Apostle's story, the distress that happened to him psychologically was stored in that place of the brain. Again, I'm not trying to get too deep. It's a place we call the amygdala. That's a place that stores things. And when we don't deal with the, let me put it to you like this. If that food that we have in that room and I put that in a storage place and I leave it there, what's going to happen to it over time? It's going to spoil. Then what's going to start doing? You're going to start smelling it. And if you don't pay attention, it's going to be right there, and you're going to get used to that smell. And you will not try to seek it out, to scope it out and snuff it out, to take it out. And then trash it. And what happens is, if you heard what he just described, he's calling it his identity, but it was the trauma of what happened. Because before that, he had no perspective on what should I be? Where should I be in this area of my life? But this external pressure influenced his emotional and psychological perspective, and it carried with him for all this time. And in the church, we don't like to talk about these things. We try to make it all spiritual. But there is a spiritual and a natural component to this. And so when it comes now, we move this from the moment he was told to take it out, let's compare. That carried for 10 years. Yeah. What never changed? What was the thing that never changed in that story? Anyone know? What didn't change for you?
What didn't change?
Yeah.
I think my perspective about myself.
That's right.
Yeah. I still felt that way even as married. Yeah.
And as long as he held on to what his perspective of himself, and I bet you were in church.
I was.
I bet you were under the power.
I was.
You were in an environment where the Spirit of God was high.
Preaching.
But you never dealt with the psychological component of your life.
Yeah.
And what happens is when we move from being, there's that word again, selfish. Are y'all see why I said I don't like that word? What did he say? When I moved from the place where the act of engaging my wife was not about me, and it was about her, it shifted everything. And I'm sure it's still a process. So I think for us, when we think about the trauma and how we treat and engage our spouses, it has to go back. What was that moment in time? Let's take it out if you're not married. How you treat yourself sexually.